Welcome to Your Money Guides, brought to you by Interface Financial Planning.
Why our clients must have their wills and lasting powers of attorney in place. Alan is in an angry mood this morning, which is strange for a happy person. No, he didn't get out the wrong side of bed, and he slept quite well. And he even had the wonderful news that Tom, his son, passed his exams with flying colours and is almost a fully fledged financial planner. Alan is in a bad mood because he doesn't understand why the people he speaks to don't follow through with what he suggests. Here's what happened. Alan spoke to a relatively new client this morning first thing. He's 65 years old. He's not old, but he's certainly no spring chicken. During the conversation, Alan asked him a question that he asks all of his new clients. Does he have a will in place? His answer was that no, he didn't, and that's because he plans to live for a long time, so he doesn't need one yet. Is he psychic? No. Does he know when his number will be up? No. Is he crazy? In Alan's opinion, yes. Why leave it to chance? He could be run over by a bus tomorrow. That's not the only example of not listening to Alan's advice that's happened. Alan received some LPAs in the post in the morning from a client who appointed his wife and friend as his attorneys. His wife has died, and his friend no longer wants the responsibility. So now Alan's team has to prepare new LPAs. That isn't a problem, of course, and they'll do it. But it stresses the importance of ensuring that the attorneys you appoint are aware of their responsibilities and that they're reliable. What's more, had he become incapacitated and his friend declined to act, what then? If you're preparing your LPA, please check with those you want to appoint that they're happy for you to do so. Alan's team like to cover all of the possibilities, and they sometimes appoint countrywide as a reserve attorney to ensure that whatever happens in the future, an attorney is in place. Alan remembers another will example. About 10 years ago, he had a lovely woman as a client. She was on her own. She had an ex-partner, but they weren't divorced. She rewrote her will online to exclude her ex-partner and printed it off. While Alan urged her to use their highly secure, safe will storage service, she refused and kept it at home, telling her children where they'd find it if they needed it. Well, you could hardly believe what happened. This client died and her ex-partner still had the keys to her house. You'll be amazed at what happened next. He turned up at the house, let himself in, located the rewritten will, tore it up, and then produced the first will, which left him everything. There was nothing her children could do about it. If only she'd stored her will securely. Alan's storage service doesn't allow the release of wills without a death certificate and other highly sensitive information. Another client died just over 2 years ago. He died in the polling station after casting his vote, but that's another story. Mick lived alone. He didn't have any children or close relations, and his house was a bit like one of those "How Clean Is Your House" TV programmes that used to be popular. He'd written his will in favour of some unrelated friends, but he hadn't stored it. As a result, it took 6 weeks of searching his house to locate it. Thankfully, it was found, but it was a stressful process for those involved. So with all of the above, and countless other stories Alan could tell you, Alan's decided that when Interface takes on a new client, the team will insist that wills and LPAs are in place. It's not for their benefit. Let Alan tell you, they only charge £145 to write a will, and that's far cheaper than most solicitors, who may charge from £300, depending on where they're located in the country. Apart from the fact that Alan hates seeing people pay more, it's to protect clients and their families. Put it this way, there have been times when Alan's begged clients to put their wills in place, but they don't listen. Then the worst case scenario occurs and they develop dementia or similar. By that point, they can't write a will or an LPA. When they pass away, their relatives come to Interface to ask for a copy of the will, and the team can't help. It upsets them all. Alan just wishes people would listen. So Alan's urging you to take note and get that will and LPA in place before it's too late. You won't live forever. Think of your family and making their lives easier too. Also, please don't just rely on your solicitor because they are not financial planners. They don't have access to your financial information, whereas financial planners do, so it makes sense to keep everything together. After all, a will is about finance and assets, and LPAs are about granting other people the right to manage your finances or your personal well-being when you're no longer able to do so. While Alan is talking about solicitors, he should also mention accountants. For example, they think about what's happened financially to date. Financial planners work from when you're going to die backwards, and from the present until then. That's the difference. Financial advisors and accountants give advice and tell you what to do. Planners are different. It's about where you are, what you want to achieve, and where you're going, plus what happens to your finances when you leave this earth. At Interface, when they process a will, they've got all the financial information right there, which saves time and aggravation. Why use someone who has no idea about your finances to prepare your will and LPA? You'll possibly save yourself some money too. Alan said enough. Making a will and preparing LPAs is now one of Interface's requirements for all new clients, as is securely storing the information. Alan is doing this to protect his clients because he cares, and he wants them and their families to have everything firmly in place to make life easier for when the inevitable occurs. And if you're not a client of Interface, Alan can't stress it enough. Get your will and LPAs in place. Let's talk about online wills. An online will isn't a good solution either. A client of several years ago said to Alan recently, "I've revised my will, I did it online, and I've made a copy." Her daughter lives in Monaco, so she hasn't got easy access to these documents, and if they're only kept at home, they could easily get lost or destroyed. Alan's team can't stress this enough. Get your will in place. Get your lasting powers of attorney in place. Making a will and LPA is now one of Interface's requirements for all new clients. That's the ethos of Interface. They care about their clients, and they want them to have everything in place to make life easy for them and their families. Thank you.
For more information, visit our website at interfacefinancialplanning.co.uk.